Pakistan Army's failure was not just military, but a failure engineered and created by Pakistan's founding fathers starting from 1916, as well as Pakistan Army's peculiar British political and military legacy. It became popular to scapegoat Yahya Khan and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto for Pakistan's 1971 debacle. This book examines the underlying reasons for these failures and tries to summarize them. Chapter 1 deals with character of Pakistan's ruling establishment who laid the foundations of Pakistan's strategic failure in 1971 war and the summary of failures from 1916 to 1971. Pakistan Army was pre-programmed and doomed to fail thanks to the powerful legacy of ethnic chauvinism firmly planted in Pakistan's body politics by Pakistan's so-called founding fathers at the disaster known as Lucknow Pact of 1916. Lucknow Pact was based on principles of Muslim Ashrafiyya superiority, in which Muslims of UP, Bihar, and Bombay were regarded as superior, Punjabi Muslims regarded as almost equals, and Bengali Muslims regarded as inferiors of Dravidian ancestry. Mr. Jinnah at Lucknow in 1916 led a fatal exercise that destroyed Bengali Muslim majority in Bengal province. A firm principle was established that Muslim politics in India would be based not on simple basic democratic principles of one man, one vote, but ethnically and culturally manipulated, twisted communal quotas. This was the real start of 1971 crisis of Pakistan Army. The exercise to sideline majority Bengali Muslims was continued by Mr. Jinnah's successors, who made sure that no constitution was framed till 1956 to safeguard the so-called political heartland, West Pakistan, from being ruled by the East Bengal Muslims. Pakistan's political destabilization thus dates from 1916, Lucknow Pact, and was fine-tuned from 1947 to 56 when Bengali Muslim majority was reduced at gunpoint to parity in 1956 based on political superiority of non-Bengali Muslims laid down at Lucknow and firmly consolidated from 1916 to 1956. The strategic foundation of West Pakistan, that West Pakistan was the heartland, and it was here that the vast bulk of Pakistani army would be deployed, was laid. This had already happened in the years between 1947 and 56. Yahya Khan and Bhutto came much later and are unfairly blamed. This most important fact was always whitewashed, camouflaged, and hidden. Military strategy and plans are always based on political realities and political priorities. Pakistan's basic failure was political. The military was unfairly blamed. The fact that Pakistan's political center of gravity was West Pakistan in general and Punjab in particular decided where Pakistan's military would be deployed and what part of the country would be given the highest priority as far as defense strategy of Pakistan was concerned. This was the position right from the time the country was created. As you can see, Pakistan Army's order of battle in 1948, most of the army is concentrated in Punjab. If you see carefully, 6th Bhavalpur Division, 10 division, 7 division and 9 frontier division, and only 1 division, 8 division in Karachi. This was the order of battle of Pakistan Army in 1948. It is an interesting and much ignored part of Pakistan's history that the majority province was regarded as a Dravidian appendage, while all resources of the country were concentrated in the minority provinces of Punjab, Sindh, and NWFP. Further, full blast efforts were made by the country's so called founding fathers to ensure that a constitution was not promulgated and elections were not held. Finally, when a dictator, the much reviled Yahya Khan, did hold the country's first free and fair elections in 1970 based on direct adult franchise, the Pakistan Army was assigned a mission to impose the minority province's will on the majority province, East Pakistan. This is the Guinness Book World Record. In 1965, just 2 puny infantry brigades were earmarked to defend the country's eastern province, while the vast bulk of Pakistan Army was deployed to defend Punjab province, which was about 22% of the country. This is the Pakistani order of battle in 1965. As you can see, most of the army is concentrated in Punjab, barring 7 division in Peshawar and 8 division in Quetta and Sindh. This is the order of battle in 1965. The issue was simple. North and central Punjab were seen as the geopolitical heartland of Pakistan. The strategic plan was simply to defend north and central Punjab. After 1971 war, a convenient fiction that a counter-offensive plan existed to save East Pakistan was invented. This is what this book is all about. What was really the thought process of Pakistan's top military and political leaders in 1971 crisis. Chapter 2. Pakistan Army's leading personalities, strategic caliber and their quality of talent as background to 1971 disaster. Pakistan Army inherited the Punjab fixation from its second British Commander-in-Chief Gracie. The first British chief was in command for a very short duration and frequently on leave. Pakistan Army inherited a Punjab province heavy deployment from the British pre-1947 period. Nothing to do with Pakistan's so-called founding fathers. North Punjab was the center of gravity, although facing west against possible USSR and Russian threat. After 1947, the situation remained same, except the fact that now the same newly independent armies faced east. Punjab province was the center of gravity of the British midwifed Pakistani state. In British perception, Punjab was the heartland of the new Pakistani state that they midwifed in 1947. The international border was so close that Punjab's most important cities, Lahore and Sialkot, could be overrun within few hours. This was a close run affair in 1947-48 war, when fear of Indian attack in retaliation to Pakistani invasion of Kashmir kept Pakistan Army having bulk of its strength in North Punjab. After the 1948 war, ideally Pakistan's military strategy should have been revised and some thought given to how East Pakistan would be defended in case of war. This ironically never happened because East Pakistan was always regarded as a British thrust appendage of Pakistan. Although this aspect of the issue till to date is much whitewashed and ignored, the harsh reality remains that North Punjab was regarded as Pakistan's geopolitical heartland. Seen in this context, there never was any Pakistani strategic plan to save East Pakistan in case attacked by an overwhelming Indian force as happened in 1971. Now we will briefly examine strategic caliber of Pakistan's key military leaders. Ayub Khan. Ayub Khan was a product of the British Indian Army in which the Indians were not to be promoted beyond company commanders. Ayub's war record in World War II was pathetic and he was sacked from a battalion's command just after 54 days. His tactical timidity is well documented in the volume 1 of the Assam Regiment History. Those who are interested can do their own research. Ayub was, in short, removed from command just after 54 days of command, which clearly proves that he was viewed as a pathetic case. Ayub had nothing to do with Pakistan's first major war with India in 1947-48. In short, Ayub's strategic caliber was 0 multiplied by 0. Musa was promoted on the 50% ranker quota that the British deliberately kept in British Indian Army officer intake to keep the army conservative and mediocre leadership wise. Again, Musa had no strategic talent and thus Pakistan Army till 1966 when Musa retired had no strategic plan. Yahya. Musa's successor Yahya Khan was the most brilliant army chief till 1966, but he was severely handicapped by the fact that the Indians had crossed the relative acceptable parity level with Pakistan Army and enjoyed a massive numerical and material superiority over the Pakistan Army. Yahya was unable to assess how the 1971 war would be fought, thus he was unable to formulate a credible strategic plan to defend East Pakistan, which in any case was never regarded as Pakistan's heartland by the North Punjab centered Pakistani military and political leadership. Again, Pakistan Army under Yahya was unable to formulate a strategic plan to defend East Pakistan. However, we must note that this was a continuous position right from 1947. The same mediocrity. Yahya was not the only mediocre person, he was one of the mediocre long list of persons. On the other hand, the fact that Pakistan's eastern and western wings had a 100,000-mile gap to defend both was a strategic nightmare. As it happened, the unwritten Pakistani strategic plan remained to preserve West Pakistan while East Pakistan was expendable. This was not said in so many words, but this was the understood part of the game. One major change that Yahya brought was at least to raise more East Pakistani battalions starting from 1966. Many of these were stationed in East Pakistan. However, this proved a very late move and lost the positivity that it could have enjoyed in the period 1960 to 1966. Sahibzada Yaqub Ali Khan. He was Pakistan Army's Chief of General Staff in 1966-69 and failed to arrive at a workable strategic plan to defend East Pakistan if attacked by a vastly superior Indian force, as happened in 1971. His war record was nominal, having served in an armored car regiment and spending most of his war years in an Italian prisoner of war camp. He was, however, much overrated as a military thinker because of his aristocratic family background and sophisticated personality. The man lacked military talent, a fact that he camouflaged behind a flashy playing exterior. Appearances can be deceiving. Pakistan Army's officially supported military historian noted his shallow strategic caliber without naming him in his book published in 1973 as below. Quote, as Fazl Mukim states, as for the army, planning had taken a turn for the better after the 1965 war, when Major General, later Lieutenant General M. Yaqub Khan became the Chief of the General Staff. The old plans were analyzed, corrected, and brought up to date. Certain serious gaps, however, were still there. For example, what action would be taken in West Pakistan if an attack was mounted against East Pakistan? Question mark. Unquote. Major General Sabzara Yaqub Khan had taken over as the Army's Chief of General Staff and thus Principal Staff Officer to the CNC soon after 1965 war. Mukim was tactful in the above quote, but his two statements, somewhat contradictory, prove that although planning improved, Yaqub did not give a concrete answer or plan to solve Pakistan's strategic dilemma. In other words, the much overrated Yaqub was a miserable strategic failure as far as Pakistan Army's chief strategic thinker from 1966 to 1969 was concerned. Ironically, to date, how rated Yaqub was has not been realized in Pakistan Army. Thus, Pakistan's prime military institutions, National Defence University's library, was named after Yaqub some years earlier. Gul Hasan Khan. Yaqub's successor Gul Hasan Khan had zero operational or strategic insight. He had made his mark in 1965 as Director of Military Operations, pleasing the Pakistani President Ayub Khan, making sure that Ayub's parent battalion 5 Punjab was not committed to battle. Already Gul Hasan Khan in 1965 war had established a criminally notorious expedient of breaking the integrity of Pakistan Army's infantry battalions, which led to many disasters like Dograi, where an illustrious Pakistani battalion, 16 Punjab, was surrounded simply because its depth companies belonging to other battalions but grouped under 16 Punjab simply fled the battlefield. Sultan Khan, who served as Pakistan's Foreign Secretary and was himself a regular army officer in World War II, described Gul Hasan Khan as one who believed in the power of bayonet to solve all problems. Such was the strategically and operationally naive man who sadly was Pakistan Army's principal strategic and operational thinker in 1969-71. Gul, commissioned in infantry, had served mostly as aide-de-camp and had most limited command experience. Again, he was much overrated because his military talent shallowness was hidden behind a facade of unconventional military bearing, sporting long hair and wearing Peshawari chappals. Gul was miserable failure in formulating any viable plan to defend East Pakistan. However, Fazl Mukim, a master evader, non-committer, expertly evaded this fact and gave the following roundabout explanation in his book. In August 1971, the Indians' intentions of attacking East Pakistan were becoming obvious. It was realized that Pakistan might be forced to retaliate in West Pakistan against an Indian attack in the east. The plans, which had hitherto been designed only for a counteroffensive after an Indian attack in the east, were now based on contingency that India would take the initiative and attack East Pakistan first. In order to meet this new contingency, the process of planning for an offensive from West Pakistan was started. At the end of September, an initial presentation of this plan was made. Numerous conferences were held at the GHQ in which the Corps headquarters allotted the task of launching counteroffensive also participated. The missions of the holding corps did not change under the new plan. They still had to carry out the local actions which were being organized and rehearsed. Once the plan was finally approved, regrouping of forces commenced. During this time, war games at army level with corps headquarters were held, followed by similar exercises by corps headquarters for the divisions. After this, the formations and units started their own exercise and rehearsals in order to carry out their roles. However, Fazle Mukim hoodwinked the fact how East Pakistan would be defended. Nothing to state. Typically non-committal of Fazle Mukim. Chapter 3: Pakistan Army Strategic Dilemma, whose solution it was unable to arrive at. Pakistani military planners failed to assess how the war would be fought. This was essentially a conceptual failure. The ISI had obtained a copy of the Indian war plan to attack East Pakistan in mid 71. However, Yahya and his planning team failed to arrive at a counter solution. They remained stuck in the conventional company commander manuals which were used to teach them at the British Indian Military Academy at Dehradun. How the army was to be moved, what was strategic time and space, and when Indians would be vulnerable was not understood by Pakistani military commanders. The harsh part of this failure was that Pakistani military leadership was not groomed or trained to assess the coming conflict in terms of time and space. They failed to grasp the significance of the fact that once Indian Army's one corps was deployed, no Pakistan attack launched from West Pakistan could succeed. Essence of the matter. Essence of the matter was that once Indian Army 1 Corps and its 1st Armored Division was deployed in end October 1971, no Pakistani attack could succeed in gaining any worthwhile territory with which Pakistan could bargain with India after ceasefire. The critical time span for Pakistan, as defined by Indian Western Command Chief Kandith, to attack was between 8th and 26th October 1971. Once Indian 1 Corps and 1st Armored Division was not deployed. This, in words of Kandith, the Western Command Chief of Indian Army, if done, could have thrown all Indian plans to attack East Pakistan to winds. This is depicted on the map. 1 Corps and critical Indian area of communications between Punjab and Kashmir was deployed in war conditions. In addition, Army Reserves, 1st Armored Division and 14th Division were also deployed when war was imminent. As you can see, 1 Corps is in the north, 15 Corps, 11 Corps, and these two strategic reserve, the 14th Division and the 1st Armored Division. This is Kandith's view. Simply put, this meant that if Pakistan launched a preemptive attack on India between 8 and 26 October 71, Indian plan of attacking East Pakistan would have totally failed. But on Pakistan side, no one in the circle of decision makers understood this point. After 26 October 71, no offensive mounted from the Pakistani side could save East Pakistan as Indian One Corps was occupying crucial Indian vulnerable areas of Shakargarh Bulge and Indian Strategic Reserves, 1st Armored Division and 14th Division were in Indian Punjab's border with Pakistan, as this map illustrates. However, whole Pakistani strategic plan was phenomenally dumb. Pakistani plan did not take into account the fact that Indian strategic reserves and its one corps would be deployed after 26 October 1971. Thus, any Pakistani attack inside Indian territory would be a non-starter after 26 October 1971. The point to be noted is that this was not just Yahya Khan. All along from 1947 to 1971, Pakistani strategic thinking was mediocre. This very much included the much overrated Sahibzada Yaqub, Ayub Khan, Gul Hassan, and you name it. But we in Pakistan are only blaming Yahya Khan, which is unfair. A very, very typical mediocre style of presenting the Pakistani planning in 1971. You read in the war course presentations in National Defence University, and this reads something like this: Pakistani concept of operations, Western theatre mission, while ensuring territorial integrity of Pakistan, capture maximum sensitive Indian territory. Leading hypothesis. The leading hypothesis envisaged India remaining strategically on the defensive in Western theatre, blah blah blah. This is typical nonsense, which you read in presentations even today, without really understanding how things would actually happen in war. Offensive by two corps, again nonsense, because there was no timing. The planners were not clear about the time and space when this was to be launched. Offensive by two corps. The offensive by two corps was planned between Anupgarh and Ganganagar with the objective of capturing area up to and including Bathinda, Ludhiana to relieve pressure on the eastern theatre and improve bargaining position. Now this is pure and unadulterated nonsense, as clear as mud. But you read it even today. These brilliant operational strategists, they are giving these Moltke and Manstein solutions. My foot, defensive balance, potent reserve of an armored division and infantry division was placed at Gujranwala to maintain strategic balance. Actually, under one corps, Irshad doing nothing. The whole Pakistani concept of operations, much parroted and dumbly repeated in much plagiarized and copycat presentations in Pakistan's premier national military learning institutions like National Defence University, etc., were absolutely impractical and stood no chance in actual war. This is how it happened, but still to date, Pakistanis are romanticizing this dumb concept of operations. The total impracticality and quixotism of this dumb concept of operations was brilliantly criticized by Pakistan Army's Major Chaudhry Anis Ahmed Ataullah in his debriefing to the Pakistan Army headquarters after repatriation from Indian prisoner of war camp. Chaudhry Anis Ataullah described the principal reason for defeat in East Pakistan as below. Now, he was given a questionnaire by the Pakistan Army which he had to answer, and this was a debriefing carried out with all the prisoner of war officers who returned from India. Questioned by Pakistan Army General Headquarters on repatriation from prisoner of war camp 1973. What were the causes of failure in East Pakistan? What lessons can be learned from there? look at the question. Answer by Major Chaudhry Anis Ahmad Ataullah, Brigade Major 205 Brigade in East Pakistan, from start of counter-insurgency operations till surrender on 16 December 1971. This is a difficult question to answer when no one does not have all the relevant information available. I do not have all the relevant information. However, from my lowly position, I can give a few points which have emerged during the last 2.5 years of captivity. 1. The strategy of the defense of East Pakistan lying in West Pakistan was wrong. In order to defend East Pakistan, it was necessary to have adequate troops, fully protected by proper artillery, armor and air in East Pakistan. Number 2, the attitude of writing off East Pakistan was, in case of a war, was none too palatable for the troops operating there. Number 3, it was an absolute blunder to attack in West so late, this attack in 4 December. If an attack had to be launched, it should have been sometime during August-September, when conditions for movement in East Pakistan would have been difficult for the enemy. The Indians have taken note of this in some of the accounts of the war published, like Candid. Moreover, by delaying till December, the enemy got time to organize his logistics and march all troops around East Pakistan. This is the actual questionnaire and the answers of later Colonel Chaudhry Anis Ataullah. As you can see, I have just copied and pasted them. This is the questionnaire. In short, BM 205 Brigade, Chaudhry Anis Ahmad Ataullah described Pakistan Army GHQ strategic plan as wrong. Anis described timing of Pakistani attack on Western Front as incorrect and stated that Pakistan Army, if it had to save East Pakistan, should have attacked in August-September 1971. This is what Chaudhry Anis Ataullah states in this debriefing. He also described the local strategy in East Pakistan of holding the border as wrong. The serious basic flaws in Sahibzada Yaqub's strategic concept adopted by Gul Hasan Khan were tactfully pointed out by Fazl Mukim Khan in his book, as we have quoted. Although Fazl Mukim has been very tactful, typical of him being a chronic job seeker, he was always non-committal, never giving clear and precise analysis. Here this scribe offers a more detailed explanation, while whole Pakistani concept of operations was 100% formula for defeat, failure and disgrace. There is great truth in Pakistan Army's first officially supported historian of 1971 war.